Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com for this week's edition of Inside the Zone. You'll note the man to my left doesn't look a whole lot like Shane Almirani. He looks a little bit like Gary Graham, the head coach of the Komets, joining us now for this week's edition of Inside the Zone. Coach, appreciate you coming on.
Great seeing you.
All right, 2019, the calendar flipped, and the Komets are playing great hockey. You guys are 5-0-1 since the calendar flipped, or 5-1, I should say. What has been the key, really, to turning some things around and getting this team to play the type of hockey that you want night in and night out?
Well, I think we're getting some roster stability. I think that's key. I think obviously we've made a lot of trades this year trying to make the team better, and lately since the Brady Shaw trade, I think we've been able to get some cohesiveness going, especially with our forward groups. I think our goaltending has been a lot more consistent too. You see Fucale before he went up, got ECHL goalie of the week. Hafner's playing some more consistent hockey. I think that's been a big part of it too. When
you take a look at this past week, you get the 3-2 overtime win against Indy. We'll talk about that here in a second. 6-4 against Utah, a team you don't see very often back at your place, and then unfortunately a 5-3 loss to Kalamazoo on Sunday. But your overall takeaway from this weekend, what was it?
Well, you know, again, the Indy games, very challenging games. They're a team that's neck and neck with us in the standings, and we talk about those division games right now being 4-point games. So Indy being right there, you know, on our heels, we knew how important those games were, even going to the previous weekend. You know, we play them back-to-back games, basically, and we'll again play them again this week. So getting up for those games has been very easy for our group. We know how important they are. Utah is more of a measuring stick. I think to be number one in the Mountain Division, they were coming in 5-0, playing some great hockey. We were coming in 4-0. So, you know, we kind of said it's two rhinos meeting in the middle of the rink and seeing kind of who was going to come out. So I was really proud of the way the guys played that night. And even last night, I think, you know, in the 5-3 loss, it wasn't really a 5-3 game. I mean, 3-3, I thought the guys' energy levels was tremendous. You know, I think special teams was a big part of the Kalamazoo success last night. They got a couple gritty goals there. You know, we again had 14 scoring chances in the first period and easily could have been up 4-0 at the end of one. Instead, it's 1-1, and you let a team coming on the road just kind of, you know, lie around there and make them feel like they're in the game. And so we didn't do a good enough job in the first period, really stealing the momentum when we had a chance.
I want to talk about hockey more in just a minute, but I want to talk about you because a lot of people know that you're from Fort Wayne, but what does it mean to have elevated yourself to the point where you are the head coach of the Fort Wayne Komets? And is that something that, you know, on a daily basis you think about? I imagine it was kind of a dream job when you were growing up in the hockey scene here in Fort Wayne.
I never in my wildest dreams would have thought I'd be the head coach of the Fort Wayne Komets. I mean, I didn't really I got into coaching. I missed my 16th year coaching hockey. But it was, again, never about trying to be a professional hockey coach, especially of the Fort Wayne Komets. It's weird how life kind of turns, and that's what happened. It was a chance. Guy Dupuis was the guy that did my fireworks science for me during the summer, and I tell people this story all the time. I was after a few years of coaching, and I asked Guy to set me up with Al Sims. I wanted to meet him and just try to pick his brain about stealing some drills and just kind of learning from a guy that's got all that experience. And they were just coming off the first IHL trophy that they had won there, and we met over at the Chipotle right there by the Coliseum, and you know, I'm picking Simmer's brain, and all of a sudden he's kind of asking me if I want to come on board and be an assistant coach. And it was a really wild meeting because here I am thinking this isn't a job interview, this is me trying to learn from this guy that's got all this experience, and why would this guy want little old Gary Graham to be a part of his coaching staff? But it ended up being a job interview, and I did pretty good off the cuff there. He was starting to ask a lot of questions, and I answered him right. And he asked me what it would take to get him on board, and I said, nothing. I said, let me volunteer the first year. And that's when I go around to high schools and talk a lot, I talk to kids about being willing to do you know, internships, be willing to work for free, to be able to put your foot in the door and prove your worth before you even start getting paid. I think that's a big thing I like to teach kids.
Now, you've kind of been known as a videophile. You're a guy that'll scour tape and really be able to dissect it. Where does that come from, and is that something that Sims kind of imparted on you earlier, or is that more of your personality to really, you know, crunch tape and go over it and spend time on the video?
Well, that goes into the way I was raised. My Uncle Greg, I didn't have a dad growing up really around, but my Uncle Greg filmed every one of my sporting activities, and I still look at them on VHS tape sometimes just for fun. But baseball, basketball, hockey, football, I mean, anything, you name it, he filmed, and we would go over it, and he would watch me watch myself. And whenever we went to a sporting event, you know, I was a defenseman playing hockey. He would get seats, and he would make me, when we go to an NHL game, you know, study this certain defenseman, and I would just sit there and study. So at an early age, really growing up, my Uncle Greg kind of made me start watching film, and that's kind of the way I started looking at the game differently. So I think, it was just kind of ingrained into me. I didn't realize it was happening at the time, but I always found myself, even when I watch NFL or college football or college basketball, I'm always kind of dissecting things. My son in baseball, I find myself now dissecting baseball in a different way. So a lot of people ask me, is it even enjoyable for me to watch a sporting event? And it is, but I'm looking at it more in terms of the way the coaches are looking at it. It's not, I wouldn't say it's not enjoyable, but again, every time I'm watching sports, it's more about kind of looking at how things are working.
That's how I am. I'm always thinking about what are the reporters going to do? Like, what's the storyline? What are they thinking of? What's the lead to their?
Yeah.
And so it's a different way to look at sports. But you mentioned your son. Talk a little bit about your family and how do you. Hockey is such a long season. I mean, last year you guys played until I think it was May 26th. It was the second longest season in terms of the number of days in Komets history. So hockey is such a long season. How do you balance out family? How do you balance out personal life? How do you balance it all out knowing that, you spend so much time at the rink and so much time, breaking down all the video that we talked about?
It is challenging, but I can tell you the Komets did me a great favor in allowing me to hire a full-time, coaching staff in Ben Boudreau and Olivier Legault that have really made my life a lot easier. And for a few years there, I was doing pretty much everything on my own. In Fort Wayne, and that was a tall task. I mean, the one thing about playing in our division compared to the West, a lot of teams out West, you'll play the same team 3 games straight. And there's not many things you're really adjusting when you're playing the same
Right.
team, But in our division, because if in a 3-3, we might see 3 different teams. So if you play an Indy, a Kalamazoo, and a Toledo, you have to get prepped and know everything about those 3 teams on top of doing the video on your own team. And that's a lot to ask of any one particular coach. But Ben Boudreau really is. He is the new video wizard guy. He's taken that over from me, to be honest with you. Benny does a great job. He's definitely proven to be that his value in the video room is kind of what I did for Al. And it's nice because now I can kind of understand why Al appreciated me so much, is you're able to take that off the table in terms of my responsibility. It's, I get a chance, instead of looking at the whole game, Benny's got it ready for me, queued up in the morning. We'll meet tomorrow morning. We'll go over the video. We'll get ready for Kalamazoo. It's not like right now I'm at home cutting up the video. So that's what's great about having a great coaching staff.
Mentioning coaches, how much do you take away from Al Sims, and how much of his wisdom do you impart into what you do? Because here's Al. He's been the coach of the LA Kings. He's a guy who was on the same line as Bobby Orr for a couple years as a player. I mean, how much do you take from him? What are the biggest things that you take from him? And what do you try to impart, especially when you were early as the head coach coming from the SPHL? What did you try to impart that was kind of your footprint on the Komets franchise?
Well, I think the main thing that Al taught me was how to coach in Fort Wayne. I mean, it's a very demanding hockey market. Very demanding. I mean, when you look around,
those freaking media, man, they're the worst.
The other teams. I mean, it's when we go on the road and stuff, and if we're up in a rink, 4-0 or something, you look around and everybody's having fun and still cheering, and you see them on the jumbotron, and at Fort Wayne, it's like if you don't win every game, I mean, there's people that are barking at you, and that's just the way it is. And he taught me over 4 years. I mean, I seen it after we won those 3 back-to-back IHL. We went to the Central League that first year. I mean, I remember fans calling for his head. This guy just won all these championships here, and it was only halfway through the season in the Central League in the first. And we had a rocky start, and then we turned it around in the second half and upset Bloomington in the first round and took Rapid City to Game 6. I seen it firsthand, and the next year, we had to find a laugh, and we won the Central League, which Al and I still talk about, because it was pretty rough that first year. But again, the expectations is to win it all in this town, and I think that's the one thing he told me, and it's about how to work with management. He taught me a lot about the Franke family. I think that helped me get the job out of Pensacola. There was a lot of good applicants that wanted that job, and I think Al and Bob Chase, frankly, did too, told me a lot about how the Franke family likes to work, how they like to run their business and stuff. So I feel like I had a good understanding of what management likes in a candidate and what they want in a head coach. And so I think those are two of the main things, and also how he worked with his older guys. I thought Al was really good with his older guys, his veteran guys, and understanding when to give them days off, when to push them harder. I thought that was one of the things that Al did a really good job of.
When you take a look at, everybody loves a winner. When you take a look at your guys' record in overtime so far this year, counting that game against Indy last week, you guys are 4-0. What is it about this team that's allowed you guys to excel in overtime situations? And I mean, you score 10 seconds in against Indy, Petruzzelli with the goal. Is that something that you had designed off the face-off?
Absolutely not. I'd be lying if I.
See, that's where you should take credit.
No, I'm not a. I didn't get into coaching for credit or pats on the back. That was all. Marco Waugh starts with a great draw, and again, it's Jason Binkley making a pass and then beating Shala up the ice, and it's a 3-on-3. It's open ice, so it's all about winning races, and that's what we talk about all the time. And getting the opening face-off. I think if there's anything in terms of the overtime that we really stress is it is such possession-oriented hockey. And the team that usually gets it first is going to be the one to win the opening face-off. So that's a big thing that we stress, is doing everything we possibly can to start with the puck. And, I didn't even know we were 4-0. I know Shane will tell you right now. I'm not a huge stat guy. I almost feel like I need to knock on some wood here since you just told me we're 4-0 in
I think all of ours is fake up here.
If we lose the next overtime, I'm going to call you personally and blame you for bringing that stat to my attention right now. But in all honesty, I think, again, it's the desperation to get the second point is probably a big part of it, because we know how tight this division is this year. And, if you don't take care of business on a week-in, week-out basis, you could be on the outside looking in. And now that we're at the halfway point in the season, we have to be aware of every potential point that we can get. We need.
I feel like last year we were talking a lot about scoring the first goal and momentum in the first period. That's something you guys have been really good at this year. You're 10-1. When scoring first. So what is it about this team that's allowed you to excel in the first period? You guys outscored opponents this past week 5-1 in the first period.
Yeah, we had some good starts. I think consistency from period to period has been a problem. Second periods have been a concern for me personally, just because we have had some good starts and then we let our foot off the gas, and that's something that you don't want to do. You want to be able to really keep your foot down and on your opponent's neck. If you got them kind of in the corner bleeding, you want to make sure you keep that going. And I think that's something where, again, that's comes into our identity here the next half of this season here, is being that tough to play against team, especially on home ice. I think our home ice record is nowhere where it should be right now compared to what we've had in the past. It's something that we got to do a better job of taking care of. I will say it seems like the home ice games schedule, the way it's working out this year, we seem to be coming in on the back end of a lot of long games when we're playing home games sometimes, which makes it more difficult, depending on the way the schedule's set up. But, we just got to, again, we get a chance Wednesday night to see Kalamazoo again and be sharp and ready to go.
Yeah, taking a look at this week's games, Wednesday at home versus Kalamazoo, Friday at home versus Indy, off Saturday, but on the road against a good Toledo team on Sunday, or a good rivalry game, I should say, on Sunday. What do you really see as the biggest key this week? What's going to be the big point that you're stressing in practice throughout this week to get ready for what could be a challenging week?
Yeah, every week is challenging, but I think special teams is continuing to be the thing. We got Matt Weiss assigned to us from Chicago. Had 1 day of power play practice with him, and he's going to be one of our power play kind of catalyst guys. We expect to be. The power play hasn't been getting the job done. Plain and simple. We'll be getting a lot of good scoring chances, good looks, and guys aren't bearing down, and it's something that we just need to continue to keep working on. Tomorrow we'll have a special teams practice. We're going to have a special teams video session. It's all going to be special teams, and the PK has been really streaky. We go 15-16 on kills, and then it seems like last night Kalamazoo gets 2 of 4, and it's the second one is just a little lost battle that we just normally we take care of, and we didn't last night, and that was a big goal for them. So it's just continuing to hold the guys' feet to the flame in terms of special teams are a big part of every game. We got to be better in that department.
Now that you've been the head coach of the Komets, firmly entrenched as the head coach of the Komets, what is it like to be doing this in your hometown? It's sort of like a question I asked earlier, but is there any kind of have you been able to settle in and enjoy it, I guess, is my biggest question? Because I know it's a very intense season. And as you mentioned, fans here expect you to win every time out.
It's not like that at all. You think it would be, being from Fort Wayne, but the expectations don't allow it to be a fun job, to be honest with you. It is a challenging job. I'd be lying if I said anything different. It's, you have friends, and I'll just be honest, when I walk out of the locker room after a game, if we lose, there's a lot of people that are so-called friends that do not look at you the same way. I mean, that's just the way it is. And after a win, they'll be high-fiving and cheering you. But, again, when you lose, that walk of shame to the office is palpable, and you feel it. And that's just the way it is. That's the nature of the beast. And when I recruit guys during the summer, that's the expectation that we have here. That's the beautiful thing. That's the reason why we lead the league in attendance and why people care so much and why ownership cares so much and why players want to come back here all the time. So, that's what we sign up for, and that starts with me. And I think the main thing is it's just like Jerry Jones always says, it's win, baby, just win. You got to win in Fort Wayne. So that's something that we feel as coaches, and ownership will be quick to remind you as well.
All right. Man, we appreciate it.
Yep.
Gary, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. And best of luck this coming week. Should be a challenging week. Looking forward to it. And, of course, we'll be talking here Monday on Inside the Zone. He's Gary. I'm Glenn. We'll see you back next Monday.